Hi, I'm Inanna, and I am channeling 17 Days of No Self to give you the answers from my higher self by going into deep meditation to find the answers on self mastery. Today is day 11. And yesterday, I received a download about being present. The thought of being present is a piggyback from my previous video from day 9's explanation about self mastery in regards to the two OS systems in the diagram that I put out. And I briefly mentioned being present, and it kind of set in my spirit as something that I'm like, something is to this. I need to revisit it, but I didn't exactly know how that was going to manifest. Fast forward until yesterday, I did a very deep cleansing meditation, and I was focused more so on being present when the thought occurred to me about how I should approach this. And it was in the form of a mantra that one of my elders always said, even sung sometimes: one day at a time. And I began thinking very deeply on this, and the higher light came into my consciousness that this was actually a math equation if you break it down. So let's jump into it. Yesterday was day 10, which, if you've been following me, you know that I am big into collapsing numbers by adding them together to find their values and lowering them to a number of 1 through 9, which are the true numbers. And yesterday was day 10, so that means it was actually day 1, which is perfect for the value of being present because it's all about the singular moment or the now. So I find that this particular download was extremely vital and important to everything we have discussed previously. How can you talk about self-mastery and not talk about the process of being present and what it actually means? I think a lot of people don't understand what it means to be present. So let me go into that a little bit more detailed so you can understand exactly what it means and how to actually do it. Today is day 11, and that's perfect for this subject because we're talking about the process of making a choice between one or the other, but it's also about double-mindedness, right? Or choose ye this day whom you shall serve. So this is the perfect segue into how to remain present and what it actually means to be present. As for me and my understanding of it, there are two ways that you can be present. One, you can actually focus on being present, which means doing something like meditation, doing something like art, doing something where it causes you to hyper focus in the moment, taking your attention from the past and the future, where you're forced to focus your energy on something in the present and actually be there and experience it for what it is. That is one mode of being present, but it's not the way that you master being present. There's another form of being present. A little bit about my own personal journey. I have actually been practicing no self for the past 2 years, unbeknownst to me. And I was actually in an environment where I worked in corporate. I had this job that required me to actually plan in advance. And I would be living in the future most of the time and the past because, one, I had to analyze the things that went on previously in order to plan for the future. And it's usually like 6 months to a year that I'm planning things out in order for me to do my job correctly, right? So I was living in the future of worry and making sure that everything was going off without a hitch with what I had to do, as well as the past, piggybacking and looking and analyzing and going through and mulling over the things, the mistakes that were made, how can we correct it, etc. So I went from that type of experience, as we most have, to being thrust into just being present. I went from that experience to gaining Christ consciousness while I was there, which is another key because I believe that the system kind of booted me out. There is something about having this particular gift that calls your attention to extreme focus. And I find that a lot of times with this gift, a lot of these energies that exist around us cannot tolerate you being hyper focused or focused and understanding with light to see and shine light in dark places. So I found that the system actually booted me out. So I came out of the corporate environment altogether and have not been able to return since because I believe that what I'm doing has a higher calling, and it is very important and vitally important when you have this gift of Christ consciousness to share what it is that you learned in the process of the light. So there is no place for me in a place like that anymore because it hinges on you not being able to focus on people, places, and things and really pay attention to detail and what's happening around you. It's more so for you to be caught up in the future, the past, and everything, and kind of being jumbled up in your mind so that you cannot focus on what's actually going on around you and the people around you. And there are entities that are surrounding you. However, with all of this light that I have, it's almost virtually impossible for those things to dwell because it's just too bright. Being on this journey is a full-time job. I have literally been thrust into it, and I have not been able to return, no matter how hard I tried, to that old way or the old way of being. So I've been forced to rely on just trusting the source for all of my needs, guiding the path, walking aimlessly through life, just accepting the things that drop into my consciousness on a regular basis. As I receive light codes, I give them to you immediately, and this has been my walk. And in terms of my own personal sustenance and how I sustain, how I keep a roof and all of that, how I keep food, it is literally me living day to day, week to week. Okay. I don't know what's going to happen and how it's going to happen. I just know that for the past 2 years, I've been able to do what I do and be provided for by the source, regardless of the circumstance. So in essence, I have had to rely strictly on the surrender of the journey. And that means surrendering to the unknown and not looking forward in fear. And it's not to say that I don't have fears or those things that don't come up, because those are the bugs that live in your body from trauma, from going through the process of living in this world and not understanding how you're going to make things happen, especially a person like me who's used to being in command and control of everything and making my way out of a problem and making sure that I have this and, the people around me and my loved ones have that. So it was very difficult for me to snap out of that fear. However, I have become very much in a flow state of receiving and understanding that this other part of me is no longer in existence. I can't get back into it. I can't, get employment. This made me focus on my gift, being present, and just being in receiving versus trying to solve everything, relaxing and laying back, knowing that I've been given this gift. I have a higher calling. My purpose is to teach, and the way is going to be made or is already made. So living in the present means that I take it one day at a time. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't know where it's going to come from. But for whatever reason, since I've been able to surrender to the journey, I have never had to worry about where anything was coming from. Not a meal, not a nothing. I have not gone a day hungry, without water, without food, without shelter. And that means that I feel strongly that this is the way that you are present. One day at a time is the only way for you to surrender and actually be present, other than using something to focus to be in the present. Do I have fears that surface? Yes. Does the past come up sometimes to haunt me? Absolutely. However, what I tend to focus on, or has been a mantra for me for a very long time, is the fact that there have been so many situations in the past that have threatened my well-being. And I've gotten into pickles many times where I'm like, yo, how am I going to get out of this situation? And somehow, some way, I'm sitting right here in front of you talking well, looking good, the best of my ability, right? And I am okay. I made it through those situations. You have to factor in the mathematics of all of the things that you have ever had to overcome to know that you are going to be okay. These things are going to happen. You're going to run up against obstacles that you have to go around and be like the water and move around. However, you made it through all of those things and you made it to this moment. So that has to count for something. Use that to keep you grounded. Another reason why it's so vitally important for me to be in the present and to be in the receiving is the fact that I found out or now know myself through enlightenment. And you see me call myself Inanna, which is Venus, which is the goddess of femininity. How can I work against that? So I think about all the years that I invested working against my own nature, not knowing myself, not taking the journey to know my higher soul and how it actually operates. I was literally working against the very nature of what my character arc is. Okay, so receiving is a part of me. Beauty, being a goddess, is all about my energy, and that's just my personal journey. I don't know about anyone else. I can't speak for anyone else, but working against myself was going the ultra way, which was working, giving all of my energy out to profit on someone else versus receiving, which reciprocates the abundance for others when I'm receiving. The problems that we face is that things are orchestrated to keep us either in the past and the present. You have the guilt and the shame of the things that happened in your past that you're constantly mulling over, and you have the future that hasn't happened yet, and you're in fear of things that haven't even happened. You're fear of, okay, how am I going to keep a roof over my head and how I'm going to eat? And you're worrying about these things, and you're denying the very essence of the source that is the source of all things, that provides abundantly. When you think about the core of our experience here on earth, think about the fact that the trees provide. There's water everywhere. If you plant a seed, it grows. This is the true nature of the Most High. It's not the system that we've been given. We are supposed to receive freely, and that is the nature of God. It's not about you working like a slave. It is about you being provided for so that you can learn through the mirrors. One of the gifts that I received was the actual construct of Earth and how everything is built, and understanding that, pulling that information from my DNA and from my light codes, right? Last year, I created this painting called Immaculate Conception, and it was just something that I thought about on a whim because I like illusionary art, and I wanted to do like a cube that kind of mimicked Schrodinger's cat in the box, which is both alive and dead at the same time, based on the fact that if it eats this poison or not. And I wanted this to be a living thing, but I also wanted to include Psalms 23 because I noticed that structurally the language is kind of shaped into a shape the way it is spoken. It is actually a diagram that I mapped out. So I took a physical copy of a cutout from Psalms 23 to place inside of the cube. The thing about Schrodinger's cat in the box and time is the fact that time is actually a factor in the box. The cat, you don't know when the cat may or may not eat the poison or not. So time is in the box. And my cube in the Immaculate Conception was supposed to demonstrate that. So I placed a hexagon shape, which is a representation of time, inside of this cubed box that is a three-dimensional model, basically. And I put the Psalms 23 in there, cutting it out. I measured it. It's 2 inches wide. And then I determined that the box that is outside of it was going to be 2 more inches on each side. So it's like 6 inches on each side of the box that I created. The connecting lines, when I connected them and actually measured them with a ruler, was 3.5. So this mathematics and this particular art has come back to haunt me full circle around the same time that I'm doing this other diagram. If you look at this particular art piece, you'll notice that the Psalms, or the scripture that is affixed to the diagram, is both on the wall, depending if you look from the top box, and it's also lying against the wall on the floor if you look from the straight on box, which is an illusion, but it's also a moving optical illusion to demonstrate the choices that we have. And this is key in understanding the sacred geometry of math and how it applies to the real world. We are all making those decisions, and sometimes, yes, the scripture is on the wall. Sometimes it's on the floor. That is the ability for us to make choices. And the reason why I put it in a clear box is so that you can clearly see the cat is not hidden. The cat is the scripture. And 23 is a representation of the palm of the hand, or the hand, which is the giving and receiving aspect. And when you talk about surrender to the journey, you're talking about receiving. The Psalm scripture actually has structure, and it is the 23rd, and I believe that Psalms is like palms if you rearrange the letters. It's talking about the hand, and if you know anything about hoodoo magic, we have something called a hand, which is a mojo bag, and I actually put together a diagram that demonstrates the structure when you're quoting Psalms, how it is like a geometric shape of protection that places a hedge of protection around a thing. So you're not just quoting a scripture, it's actually a spell or a physical build of a hedge of protection when you're speaking Psalms 23. That's how powerful it is, nestled within scripture. This particular scripture is all about surrender to the journey. It starts off by saying, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restored my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his namesake," right? So it's always about surrendering, knowing that you shall not want, and everything is provided for you when you're speaking this particular mantra from scripture. And I believe that this was so important in the construct of the cube and the hexagon of time, meaning that this particular simulation that we're living in is a simulated environment. The sun and the moon and all of those things are in tow because it's moving through the vortex of time. And this is an illusion, or the illusion of day and night and time. The most important thing that you should focus on is the fact that time is an illusion, and it's just a demonstration of moving objects or celestial objects. It's more about the present moment. If you look at the construct by which the sun and everything turns within the skies, it is not linear. And time is literally a construct. It's literally a cube. It's literally geometry. It's the shape of the 8 and the sun and the moon moving according to the vortex energy that's spinning and causing it to move. It's kind of like being in a time capsule or a spaceship. So when you think about the things that you worry about in the future and the past, or what that even actually means, the future and the past, neither one of those things exists. The only thing that exists is the present moment. And learning how to be in the present is a math equation. It's about the speed of light. In regards to my download about 1 day at a time being a math equation, I wanted to break that down individually and look at the words in each part. So 1 day to me is a representation of day and light. So I wanted to learn what was the speed of light. And of course, the constant of the speed of light, this large number, breaks down to the number 1, which of course is a moment, is now, is present, is the number 1. And the numerology of 1 is singular. It's not a multiplicity of other numbers on either side. It's just right now, right here, in the moment, in the present, which is light, which is a day, which is being present. The word at is A and T, and A equals 1 and T equals 20. If you collapse the numbers 1 and 2 in that, you get the number 3, which represents your choices. What I have been teaching on this channel is that the number 7 is a representation of free will, which is why this particular construct of 196 squares is in a 7x7 grid, because the number 7 represents your free will. It's 3 choices to the left, 3 choices to the right, with you at the center, which is the 1. Okay, that is the present. And we all have choices to make. We're always moving through the choices that we make. However, in the journey of surrender and taking it a day at a time, you're talking about being in the 1 or the light or the now, and the choices that you make are a factor in being in the now, meaning that you're paying attention, you're current, you're present, you're paying attention to the things that are coming into your spirit so that you can make the right choices. And you can lean into the journey of surrender, which is the present, and relying on source solely to provide for you 1 day at a time. The words "a time" reminded me immediately of the scriptures, because there's 3 separate references for the scriptures that say a time, times, and half a times, which is a representation of 3.5 years, or 3.5, or it's a representation of 1,260 days, or it's a representation of 42 months. And these numbers resonate because 3.5 in my sense is adding 3 plus 5 equals 8, which you have 3 intervals of 8 hours within a full 24-hour sequence. You divide 24 by 8, you get 3. So we're talking about the half of time, and the half of time is 1/2, which represents 2 choices. You can go to the left or to the right. On an even deeper level, 3.5 is actually also 3.14, which is pi, okay? And you're talking about the pi radius middle, which is the pyramid, or a slice of a lifetime within the full 360-degree circle of your experience here on Earth, reincarnating in and out of the moon machine within the 8 loop, as I have demonstrated on this channel. So it's also pi, it's also 8, it's 3.5, it's 3 years and a half is 1/2, which represents 1 and 1, or your choice between one thing or the other. And as I always say, numbers do not lie, and if you follow the numbers, you'll find the truth. And of course, this is nestled in Revelation 12:14, and 12 collapses to 3 and 14 collapses to 5, which is again our 3.5, which mentions in the same scripture time, times, and half a times. Okay, all of this stuff is intentional, just by the way. Nothing is happenstance, and it's not just some recorded message. You're talking about the construct or the script of geometry, sacred numbers, and mathematics.
What made this message even more timely was the fact that I received it on a Thursday, which is the 5th day of the week that also governs Jupiter. And this made me think of Jupiter, which I often translate it to mean. And the Jupiter is Peter in the Bible that denied, or was prophesied to deny, Jesus 3 times before the rooster crowed in the morning, right? And the rooster represents the barrier or the boundary between when the night ends and the dawn begins. So you're talking about this threshold marker of the spinning of the vortex, which makes perfect sense when you're talking about the surety of the things that you received, and the fact that it is a guarantee that the cock is going to crow, and you will deny me means that you're denying the very source of your sustenance when you don't surrender to the present moment. So here again, you have the threshold of 3, which is an indicator of the choices that you are able to make. And the denial, again, is a reiteration of the fact that we are to deny fear. Fear is false evidence of things appearing real. And regret are the things of the past that make you feel guilt and shame. And you're supposed to live within the present of the moment, denying all of those things and focusing on the now of what is. And in this moment, who and what you are. To me, the wisdom of this moment between Jesus and Peter is saying that before the cock crows or the rooster crows in the morning, meaning that the rooster is definitely going to crow as surely as time is, right? And it was a guarantee. But he's saying, you're going to deny me 3 times, meaning that you're going to make these choices that are going to take you away from the surrender of what actually is. And it was more so saying that these particular things in the future are a guarantee, okay? And the rooster is a testament to that, meaning that you can count on it. It is like clockwork. It's going to happen. And this is more so the surety of the moment or the present of the now in surrendering to the journey and understanding that you're being led, understanding that you're being fed, and understanding that all of your needs are met in the present. And there's no better time than right now. I hope you enjoyed this message. Please like, share, and subscribe, and put a comment down in the comments just to let me know what you think of this content overall. Keep shining bright. Peace, love, and light.